Hi guys, it's Angie. I'm gonna film a quick vlog today, and most of it is going to be on breastfeeding and kind of what's going on now and what's been going on, and kind of my experience with breastfeeding. I know a lot of you have requested videos on breastfeeding and kind of how it's going with Nick, so that's what I want to do. Nick is in the Moby wrap. My goodness. Nick is in the Moby wrap. He just broke one tooth and he's kind of in the process of breaking the other one. So he's just been really crabby and clingy and not wanting to take a nap. And so I gave him Passy and put him in the Moby wrap. We're a little bit happier, but he's been in the Moby wrap for about an hour and still no nap. He just keeps fighting it. So we'll see if he takes a nap while we are talking. So, about breastfeeding. So, we'll just go ahead and jump right in. And sorry if this is kind of, I got like a window, a big bay window over here, like a sliding glass window, and the sun's like beating through. So, sorry if it looks awful, but I hope it's okay for you guys. So, anyway, let's start off at the beginning with breastfeeding. So, at the beginning, Nick was born. He was jaundiced, and I've mentioned this in a video in the past. So they were having me breastfeed him, and the first time we breastfed was great, and he latched on fabulously. And this was like an hour or two after he was born. He latched on. He did wonderful. And then in the hospital, the next time I tried to feed him, he wouldn't latch on. I was having trouble. He wouldn't nurse. He, he was he was just having a lot of difficulty. He was having a lot of difficulty latching. So the lactation consultant came in and talked to me, and she told me we tried a couple of things. We got him to latch, and then he wouldn't really nurse very well. So he would nurse for maybe like 2 minutes and then he would fall asleep. And the reason was because he was jaundiced. He was really lethargic, and the only way to get rid of jaundice really is one of the lights, the Billy Rubin lights, but he wasn't that bad yet. And then eating, because that filters everything out, and then they start pooping and peeing, and so anyway. So they were having me feed him. So they wanted my milk to come in sooner than it was going to. So they had me feeding him for 15 minutes on each breast and then pumping for 15 minutes afterwards. And, so that's what I was doing. I did that for about, probably 2 or 3 weeks. My milk did come in, but then what I was pumping and saving, I was freezing in the freezer for when I went back to work. So then I was using a nipple shield because in the hospital we were having such trouble latching. And so she thought that that would be better for him, that he could get, his latch right. It did help a lot. It was kind of a nuisance and it was kind of bulky. Although it was only a little nipple shield like this, I had to get like a baggie or something to put it in, and then a little dish that I could put a little bit of water in, because that's how you get it to connect to your boob, is to kind of get it wet and then like stick it on your boob. So it was a little bit bulky, I'll say. And then also it was kind of like, something else to remember. I always remembered it. I never forgot it, but it was kind of something like, okay, well, if we're out, it's not like I can go in the room and just feed them real quick. I have to get this nipple shield and get it on right and get them latched and then switch it. And I mean, it was kind of a pain in the butt. So around 3 months, I guess it was, no, it was before then, because I wanted him to be able to, get off the nipple shield at some point. So around like 2.5 months, I started to just take it off. And one day I took it off, and he nursed really well on the right side, but could not latch on the left side. So I used the nipple shield on the left side. And then I kind of like cooled it for a little bit, because then my nipples started getting sore because he was actually on them and not the nipple shield. So if you're having sore nipples, I would recommend using a nipple shield. Um, a lot of people say it is hard to get their kids off of it once they've already tried the nipple shield, but I will say that it was really nice for sore nipples because I never had sore nipples. So, excuse me. Um, so anyway, so then one day I just decided, you know what, we're not going to use this anymore. We need to get off this nipple shield. We're just not going to use it. So he latched on the right side just fine, and then I took him to the left side, and after a little bit of work, he latched on that side too, and we literally never looked back. I just pretty much quit the nipple shield cold turkey, and he was fine with it. I do think that the nipple shield helped him with taking a bottle because he took a bottle just fine, and I think it's just because the nipple shields kind of, the texture is the same in their mouth as like a nipple from a bottle would be. So I'm thinking that's probably why he did so good with it. Um, so, anyways, I would keep pumping like a couple of times a day when I was on maternity leave. And I went back to work. I had about 130 ounces frozen in the freezer for the babysitter. So I was doing great and I was pumping at work every 3 hours and things were going well. So then we did, so like right now it's a really busy season where I work. And so I was skipping pumping times and sometimes only pumping twice, sometimes only pumping, like not pumping as often as I should be. And then I kind of moved it on my own to every 4 hours. And little by little, my freezer stash got used up. So I looked in the freezer I had noticed that it was getting really low. And then on Monday, I looked in the freezer and noticed I had 40 ounces, and that was it. So I was freaking out. I think it was like actually 35 because I had seven 5 ounce bags in there frozen. And I have to send four with him to the sitter. And I usually send him a thing of food. So, but for a while, he wasn't taking solids after he was sick. And then he wasn't taking solids up until like 2 days ago because I'm thinking he was breaking the teeth and he wasn't hungry. And I just kind of wanted the comfort of nursing. So at the sitter, he was drinking 20 ounces while he was at the sitter. So anyway, I was freaking out because I knew that he only had enough for like 4 days, and I was only pumping while I was gone. I was going back to pumping every 3 hours, but my milk supply had diminished so much that I was only pumping about 4 ounces each time. So, if that. And so, most of the time, I would bring home like 13 to 15 ounces for the whole day. And he had gone through almost 25. So, I knew within a matter of a couple days he was going to be out of milk and we were going to have to give him formula, which I have nothing against, but I just feel like we had worked so hard to establish breastfeeding to begin with. And my real goal is 12 months. And so, I just didn't really want to do it if I didn't have to. So, I called the doctor because there's a medication they can put you on called Reglan, and it is for nausea, but it can increase breast milk supply. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm yawning so much. I don't know why. Um, it can increase breast milk supply. So we went. I called to see if I could just get like 3 or 4 days of it. However, the side effects are really bad. Like they make you pretty much crazy. But I knew I could deal with craziness for 3 weeks, 3 months, or 3 days, in exchange for a bigger breast milk supply because I just really, really wanted to make sure I had something because that alone was driving me crazy. So I went ahead and did called the doctor, and I talked to like the nurse on call or something because I didn't know if it was like something I would need to make an appointment with the doctor to see or if it's something they could call me in. So so I called them, and the nurse was super rude to me. So I've been doing fenugreek and mother's milk and Gatorade and eating and drinking and just everything that I can do to increase my breast milk supply, and it wasn't doing anything. I had increased a little bit, and then all of a sudden it dropped again, and I was doing all the same stuff, and it increased like maybe, I would bring home 16 or 17 ounces, and then it decreased again to like 13, if that, if I was lucky. So I was really freaking out to say the least. So she had said to me, well, are you trying fenugreek? And I'm like, yes, I'm doing fenugreek. I'm doing the mother's milk tablets. I'm doing Gatorade. I'm doing oatmeal. I'm doing everything I can do, and it's not increasing at all. And I've been doing this for a while. It's not like I just did it one day and it didn't show up. I had been messing around with this for like weeks. And I'm like, it's just not helping. I just don't know what to do. So he she was like, well, it is what it is. We don't prescribe Reglan for breast milk supply just because of the side effects. And so you're just going to have, it's out of our hands at this point, and you just need to feed him formula. And was like super rude to me and just basically hung up on me. So, of course, I start crying, and I'm really upset at this point. And so I decided that I was going to try and call a lactation consultant and just see what I could do. Because, I mean, if she told me, yeah, you don't have any more, like you just need to start formula feeding, then that's fine. But I just didn't want to go down without a fight, if that made any sense. So I called a place that's about an hour and a half away from me, because I kind of live in like a country area of Missouri, and so we don't really have like all the, crunchy things, I guess you would say if you had to. We don't have all like the lactation consultants and the baby boutiques and stuff like that. I mean, it's pretty bare bones around here. So I called, and they said that they could get me in for like a 30-minute educational session with the lactation consultant. So they did that, and they wanted me to bring my pump and bring anything I was taking, an example of a bottle that he was taking while I was gone, and kind of like everything that I could think of. Bring that with me, and we're going to figure this out. So that automatically made me feel better because I felt like somebody was going to help me instead of just telling me to give him formula. So the lactation consultant, she met with me. It was $25 for a 30-minute session, which I do not think was bad at all. Um, and she just kind of went over with me what's going on. She looked at my nipples to make sure that I was using the right size shields, and I was actually using the wrong size. I was using a size bigger than what I needed, and she said that that will decrease your milk supply in itself, just because when it pulls the nipple, it draws the nipple into the flange, which is like that part. When it draws it in, if you're using too big of a one, it draws the whole nipple and part of the areola in, which contain the milk ducts, and it's like cutting off the supply to the milk ducts. So the milk ducts aren't getting drained properly because they're getting suctioned in there. So first I wasn't using the right thing. Then the tubing that they gave me at the hospital, I used on my breast pump, and there's like two little ends on it, and that was wrong too. And she said that can decrease suction of the pump, and that's probably why I'm not getting good suction. Also, the pump I had borrowed from a friend so that I didn't have to buy one, and she tested the functioning on the pump. So she said that each breast pump, like your, pump it. I had a Medela pump in style that I had borrowed, and she said what happens is they're good for about 300 pumping hours, and so about 1.5 kids is what she kind of uh, kind of told me. So 1.5 kids, 300 hours, and so the girl that I borrowed it from has two children, and nursed both of them, and then I had been using it with Nick for the whole time he's been born, pretty much. So um, she tested the pump, and she said it should get like the pressure rating should be about 350, at the very minimum 250. And so she hooked up my pump and started, and hooked it up to this gauge, and it was only getting 200. So it was way below what it needed to be um, for the appropriate level. So she's like, you know what? Good news. This is all stuff that we can fix. So I was beyond elated. And she's like, you know, you really need a new pump, but if you can't get a new pump, just get new parts, like new flanges, new tubing, and stuff like that. So I kind of thought about that, and I was like, you know, the new flanges, new tubing, and everything else like that is like $60, and a new pump is like 215. So um, I went ahead and got the new a new pump because she said I needed one anyways. So I went up and got a new pump, and then she also told me to cut down on what I was taking. So I was taking 2 mother's milk tablets in the morning, and then 3 fenugreek tablets 3 times during the day. And she said that was just like overkill, and that was actually hurting my milk supply as well. So she said to only take two wait uh, 1 mother's milk tablet every 4 hours. So that would be 6 times a day. And that she wanted me to pump at home 6 times a day when I'm home with him as well, on top of nursing him. So I pretty much do like every time I nurse him, afterwards, I pump for 15 minutes. So I've been doing that since Monday. And now I'm proud to say that instead of 35 ounces in my freezer, I have 55 ounces in my freezer, which is great. Yesterday, I mean, I used to just nurse him at home just more frequently, and thought that that would be okay and that would save me from having to pump. And really, I was getting a lot out. Like, I got two 10 ounce or two 5 ounce bags yesterday alone. So, and I've got one already today. So, um, and I just like pump, and then I might get like an ounce or an ounce and a half, but I just save it in a bottle and put it in the fridge. And then the next time I pump, I'll get like an ounce, and then I'll add that to it. So then I have 2.5 ounces. And then at the end of the day, I have like enough for another bottle, like a 5 ounce bottle. So I'm just going to continue doing that. I recommend, I guess, if you're having trouble pumping or you're having trouble with breastfeeding, please go see a lactation consultant. I feel like there are a lot of people, not people, I shouldn't like generalize it and say people, but there are a lot of healthcare providers that maybe are not well versed in breastfeeding. And I'll say, I'm a healthcare provider and I had no idea about breastfeeding. When you're in nursing school, you get like a 2 hour little, not even 2 hours on breastfeeding, and you do your labor and delivery clinicals, and you do like, I think we had to present to a mom how to breastfeed and like help her with breastfeeding her baby, which was worthless because none of us had breastfed, so we had no idea what we were talking about at all. And so we're just not well versed in breastfeeding, I'll say. And it's kind of like, oh, well, formula's there, just go ahead and give your kid formula. And I just feel like they don't understand if you do want to exclusively breastfeed. So I will say that I would recommend seeing a lactation consultant and see if they have what I went to was an educational appointment versus like an actual lactation appointment. So they were going to charge me, like, I think it was $90 for a 90-minute. No, it wasn't 90. It was like $85 for a 90-minute session with her. Um, and I think that's more of like a session, they said, where they help you with your latch and they help you with your, just like they would in the hospital. So a lot of like newer moms do that. But like after, a certain time, if there's just some information you need, like if your milk supply is low or, just like something little, then you could do a 30-minute appointment. So just see, I know lactation consultants are expensive, but just see if they have like educational appointments instead of like a 90-minute appointment. So, um, let me know whatever you guys think, and thank you to everybody that commented on my last video. I'm getting around to all those and making sure that I get back to all of you guys, and then thank you to everyone that's subscribed to me. So I will talk to you guys later, and have a great day. Bye.